20 seconds at the most. And while everyone else was out front, the murderer rapidly took the body out the back and dumped it in the boot of Quinn's own car. He then joined the others, ticking his and Quinn's name off the list. He then went to the cinema. There he purchased the ticket, but he did not go into the film. He came back here, leaving that ticket to be collected later and put in Quinn's pocket so that we'd all assume that Quinn was alive, long after he had, in fact, been murdered.
Excuse me, I must intervene. You said Roop was the murderer. He couldn't have been. He was in London. I saw him getting off the train.
Oh, I know he was on the train, sir.
But you said...
I said he'd been arrested in connection with Quinn's murder. I didn't say he'd personally committed it. No, one person couldn't possibly have managed it on his or her own. Yes?
She's here.
Bring her in, then. Mrs. Height, would you like to sit here? Mrs. Height, you spent the early part of last Friday afternoon at the cinema, didn't you?
Yes.
Which cinema was it?
The Studio 2 in Walton Street.
Were you alone?
No, I went with Donald Martin.
Together or separately?
Separately. Donald went first. We didn't want anyone to see us.
Quite. And as you approached the cinema, did you see someone you knew leaving it?
Yes.
And is that person in this room today?
Yes.
And would you be so kind as to say who it is?
I'm afraid it was Dr. Bartlett.
Dr. Thomas Bartlett, I have here a warrant for your arrest.
I don't believe it. Just can't believe it. But,
Oh, you needed the money.
perfectly adequate salary. Rather generous by academic standards.
There's mental illness in the family.
What?
The son, Richard, he's being treated in the Littlemore. Yes, not the first hospital he's been in either. As a matter of fact, the Bartletts have sent him to almost every clinic in Europe, and not on the NHS. Yes, Richard Bartlett's cost his parents a lot in emotion and money. Like £1,000 notes, those exams are. And Bartlett was such a stickler for security, no one would ever dream of suspecting him. Well, Quinn couldn't believe it. His own boss. And neither could Ogilvy when Quinn told him, which is why Ogilvy was here that Friday afternoon, just as he said.
Where? Nobody saw him.
He was right here, searching for evidence that Quinn was right. Yes, Bartlett was off in Banbury. The coast was apparently clear. Nothing. Except here. Quinn's keys taken from his pocket after the murder, and half a cinema ticket. It's very odd, surely. Left on the desk for someone, perhaps. So what does he do? He doesn't want anyone to know he's been snooping, so he carefully copies the ticket into a diary. Just as he's doing this, oh my God. Voices. Roop and Noakes. What the hell do I do? They're coming here. I go in here. That's what I do. And I hope to God Roop doesn't want to pee. He doesn't. But he does, however, take the keys and the ticket. I see that the keys and the ticket have gone, and I'm extremely puzzled. 10 minutes later, I hear a car start up outside, Quinn's car, driven with the keys I've seen on this desk just a short while ago.
Ah, so Bartlett was the murderer, and Roop drove away with the evidence.
Precisely. I expect the cyanide was Roop's idea. He is a chemist, isn't he? And I'm sure Bartlett never offers his staff anything stronger than sherry. Ogilvy was very close to the truth. He phoned the cinema, you know, pretending to be a detective story writer, asking about ticket numbers.
I always thought he was a very able man. Of course, it never occurred to me.
Look at this. Poor old Quinn wasn't here long enough to get his name on the notepaper. T.G. Bartlett, Ph.D., M.A., Secretary. P. Ogilvy, M.A., Deputy Secretary.
We made him that as a sort of compensation. If we'd only known. What are you going to do about George Bland?
Oh, Interpol will deal with him. Quite roughly, if I know Interpol. Mrs. M.M. Height, M.A., D.J. Martin, B.A. Well, strike the first two off the list. What are you left with? Office adultery.
We also have to close him, I'm sure of that. It's a dreadful thing for British education. Of course, the Americans are everywhere. They spell honor, H-O-N-O-R.
Oh, Christ.
What's the matter?
Take this paper to the door and read the first and last names out loud.
What on earth?
Please.
T.G. Bartlett, Ph.D. M.A.
Just the names, just the names.
Bartlett, Martin.
Just whisper them, just move your lips. Oh, God. And again. Dr. Bartlett, Donald Martin. Shit. The wrong bloody brand. And I've gone and arrested the wrong man. Where is he?
What? Who? What do
Did you clean the blood off for him?
I don't know. What do you mean?
For God's sake, woman! Was it you or him? There must have been plenty of it, and brains. Come on, what are you trying to protect him for? Monica wasn't the first, was she? Or likely to be the last. Don't tell me you love him.
He said there'd been an accident. He said it was in the Broad, just opposite Blackwell's. It's a girl, an undergraduate.
Philip Ogilvy.
Was knocked down by a car.
A poker. He used Ogilvy's own poker. He smashed his skull in, Mrs. Martin.
Ah! Oh, Donald! Ah! Oh!
Need a hand, sir?
Get that bastard off me!
You should get yourself in a bit of shape, Morse. You're getting flabby with all that beer. Yeah. Must have a word with the superintendent about fitness and the over 40s. I'm surprised at you, Morse. Fisticuffs at your age? I thought you didn't like the sight of blood.
All in the cause of duty.
You are sure you got the right name this time?
But I thought he was so clever at lip reading.
No one's perfect. And he'd had a good deal to drink, hadn't he?
He'd done himself well enough.
Then, of course, when Roop deliberately drew suspicion on you by asking you to meet him at the Botanical Gardens.
He said it was so we could talk without him implicating you.
Yes, well, they were very cunning. Both of them. But not as cunning as Ogilvy. They couldn't get past that crossword puzzle mind.
Rupert's never liked me, has he, my dear?
Envy, I'm afraid. I have a little money of my own, you see. So we've always been able to see that Richard got the very best attention.
Quite.
Poor Monica.
Yes, it did. You've had a bad time, Mrs. Height.
Most of it my own fault.
If there's anything I can do.
Thank you. But my friends are very kind. Shall I pour?
Yes, do.
How do you like it, Inspector?
I expect you'd rather have something stronger, wouldn't you?
Well, yes.
Doubtless you'd like some explanation of why I why I went to the...
No, I understand.
I do assure you, I don't make a habit of visiting the cinema. That kind or any other.
Of course not.
But I'd heard so much about this film. It's a classic, they tell me.
I believe so, yeah.
So having half an hour to spare before leaving for Banbury, I wasn't planning on seeing the whole thing, of course.
Of course not.
You know, it's absurd, but I feel almost worse about this than I do about the syndicate. I feel I've let myself down.
Monica understood that. That's why she wanted to protect you.
I was wondering if I shouldn't tell my wife.
Tell her what? That you didn't see the film? Adultery in the heart is not really the same as adultery, you know. Or who shall escape whipping?
Well, we should have arrested Martin straight away.
Why?
Morse's law. You said there's a 50-50 chance that whoever finds the body did the deed.
That isn't Morse's law. Morse's law is there's always time for one more pint. Only there isn't. Come on.
Do you believe that about Bartlett only meaning to stop for half an hour?
Oh, yes. Yes, he only wanted a little thrill. Just a peep behind the magic curtain. Glimpse of how the other half has a bit of the other.
Not everyone's like you know.
He is. Oh, no, they've changed the bloody film.
Oh, 101 Dalmatians. Great. I might pop home and fetch the wife and kids.